We have a situation in our nation right now where we happen to have a worship artist who is trying to do a cross-Canada tour. The first half is on the east, the second half is on the west in August. Sean Fuecht, who I'm not endorsing or whatever, I'm just stating the information, but Sean Fuecht is an American worship evangelist and missionary. As he began the tour in Canada, he had gone ahead and booked city permits. The other voices started rising up and they started saying he's a MAGA representative. In other words, his affiliation with the current president, that he agrees with them. And evidently, based on the last voter count, so does the majority of the population. So that's really their nation's business. That's not something that should be our concern. But what is a bigger concern is they said he's a bigot, he's a racist, he's anti-woman. And so all of these activists, Antifa, various groups, rose up and started petitioning, we don't want this man in our city, we don't agree with what he's about. And so the venues have just been closing and pulling their permits and blocking their permits. On the flip side of it, a farmer said, could you just do it in my field? And so he was like, I'll do it in your field. Yeah, right? But the county surrounding them said, then you are limited to less than 200 people on private property. And in Montreal, the city's mayor said, we absolutely do not want him here. He does not stand for what we stand for, inclusiveness, acceptance. He's anti-woman, he's anti-LGBT. And so they pulled his permit to be in the public park. And so a private church invited him and said, would you do a church service at our church? And so by the time they got there was police all around the building. There was Antifa all around the building. And it's just literally just a worship service. It's not a political rally of any kind, just a worship service in a private church where Christians have gathered. And smoke bombs were thrown at the stage. It was just sheer chaos. The police actually had to usher them and escort them out of the church and out of the city. And then the church received a fine for hosting a worship event, because it doesn't align with the city's values. What you need to understand about this, I'm not telling you to pick a side about Mr. Fuecht or anything like that. I'm just saying that actual act is contrary to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and religious rights to gather. That's a pretty big deal. Article 176, if you want to look it up in the criminal code, is the protection of religious rights and freedoms. But it means that when we gather here in this church, we can worship who we want to worship. And we sing the songs we want to sing, and we honor the God who we love. And nobody outside, there's actually laws that prohibit interfering with the service, interfering with the speakers. I mean, that's true, right? The criminal code, it's built right in there. There's laws against interfering with what happens in a sacred assembly. And yet this has gone on. And what's most disturbing about it is the amount of Christians that are like, yeah, I don't agree with him at all. Jesus is all about love and acceptance, and so he needs to get out of our country. Well, I tell you what, if it gets by in one city, in one province, it's gonna run like wildfire. So we actually do need to care, because some of the things where he's being, and I'm so aware this is live streamed, by the way. What makes him anti-woman in the eyes of this system is that he's pro-life. Well, just for the record, so are we. So is our statement of faith. This church, we would say that we are pro-life. It doesn't mean we're anti-anybody, but we believe that life is from God. We sang it this morning. It's your breath in my lungs. I don't have any business messing with that. The thing that says he's a bigot and he attacks us, he stands for there is male and female, and there's one definition of biblical marriage. So do we. Doesn't mean that we hate anybody, we're on the attack against anybody. It's just stating what we believe to be true. We affirm what God says in the Word of God. So we have to be really careful about how we align ourselves in moments like this. And honestly, we're being forced to actually pick a team. I mean, maybe you don't want to get involved in this particular instance, but I'm just saying in general, do you know who you believe? Do you know who you serve? They were in this worship service, and he said it was a good thing he had his eyes open while he was leading, because this Antifa guy ran right up to the stage and threw a smoke bomb right in his face. Are we prepared for that on a Sunday morning, you guys? Like, we have to know where we stand, because Jesus said, I'm never going to leave you. I'm never going to forsake you. All through the Old Testament, I'm never going to leave you. I'm never going to forsake you. Hebrews tells us we need to understand that he will never leave us. He will never forsake us, so that we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me?